So this afternoon, we're here, we're joined by award-winning photographer Ken Harvey on a virtual tour of Iceland. Iceland is a marvelous place with outstanding landscapes, friendly people, and unique experiences. There is ice, of course, but Iceland's location atop the mid-Atlantic ridge supplies it with plenty of heat from deep within the earth, resulting in volcanoes, geysers, and enough geothermal heat to warm 95% of their buildings for free. Oh my goodness. And you may recognize, you may recognize Kirkjufell, I'm sure I mispronounced that.
Close enough.
Okay, which is on the west coast as Arrowhead Mountain from the Game of Thrones. All right. So all 30 of us or so, let's give a big round of applause to Ken. Thanks so much, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. And I have to see if this will work because it almost never does. I will work it this way. So Iceland, it's a marvelous place. It's known as the land of fire and ice, and as you can see, magnificent waterfalls. It's the kind of place that really, hard to say, warms my heart because it's a cold place. But I'm not the kind of person that likes the sandy beaches with the palm trees. I tend to go for rocks and ice. Call me a little bit strange, but okay. So where is Iceland? Iceland is, here we are, up here. It's kind of like the border between the North Atlantic and the Norwegian Sea. The old joke is that Iceland is greener than Greenland, and Greenland has more ice than Iceland. And actually, it's true. It's not really a joke. And curiously, you'll see on this map and the next one, they show Greenland covered in ice, and nothing else has ice. Okay, I'm not sure why. I didn't make the maps. But here we are, up with the orange arrow. See, Greenland with all the ice. So here's the mid-Atlantic ridge. Now this is where the continents are splitting apart. And a lot of people, even in grade school, see how Africa and South America and North America, they kind of fit together. Well, they did fit together, and now they're coming apart. So what happens as this splits apart, the magma comes up from under the earth, and you get the geothermal heat. Here's a map of Iceland, basically just a circle. Now, Iceland is about 4 times larger than Massachusetts, but has half the population of Boston. So it's the least populated country in Europe. Most people, when they go to Iceland, will just stay in this area in the southwest. Here's Reykjavik. Most of what people want to see is in that area. A lot of people go up here, and that's because that's where Arrowhead Mountain is. If you've watched Game of Thrones, you really want to go there. And they say that's the most photographed place in Ireland, in Iceland. Could be. So here's where it is. Anybody want to pronounce that for me? No, I don't think so. That's the town where Arrowhead Mountain, or Kirkjufell, is. And that's the town where you probably will stay if you're going to go see it. And we did. You'll see that. The other thing about Iceland, you might remember in 2010 there was an eruption, a volcanic eruption, and the ash and smoke and everything in the air was actually getting to airplane engines and causing damage, so they had to reroute everybody around the ash clouds. This is sometimes called E15 because it's an E with 15 letters after it. Okay? Who knows how to pronounce that? Somebody must, no? Okay. It's a curious thing about the Icelandic language. The double L at the end will be pronounced as a T. A double L with a vowel after it is like a TL. So it comes out as Eyjafjallajökull. 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 Everybody? Nobody? Well, that's too bad because Chuck Norris can say it backwards. This was in a store window in Reykjavik. I just had to take a picture of that one. So here's the Icelandic flag. All the Scandinavian countries have a flag similar design. Sweden had to be the odd man out and use yellow. Everybody else is red, white, and blue. And this was an interesting one for me, the Faroe Islands. It's I didn't realize it was considered part of Scandinavia, but it's an independent country that's part of the Danish Empire. I think they call it Empire, Danish Empire. So now I have to go there someday. This is our weather report when we landed in Iceland. Rain all day and rain for at least the next 9 days. That was that wasn't depressing at all. No.
Are the temperatures in Celsius?
I'm sorry?
Are they in Celsius?
Well, they use Celsius, but my app shows it in Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay.
Actually, if this were in Celsius, we'd be boiling to death. But it wasn't that bad. It was predicted, and yes, we did have rain or snow a lot of the days. In fact, when we picked up the car from the airport, we had to scrape the windshield because it was covered in ice.
What month were you there?
This was May.
Oh,
You'd think this was like December, January. No, this was May. We went there. My wife was having a milestone birthday, and that was part of the trip. So it wasn't all rain, and actually we were happier to see snow than rain. We like snow. Call this crazy. But in an hour's time, it was a beautiful day again. These squalls kept coming through and going away, so it really wasn't so bad. I think it's a beautiful sculpture. It's typical Scandinavian style, minimal style. This is right in Reykjavik, but you can see from the hills across the fjord here that winter hasn't lost its grip yet. Now, the next 3 photos are not mine. I was there in 2006 also, and I had all these photos, and I can't find them. I hope they're on an external drive I've saved someplace. So these are borrowed, and I will give credit to the people. If you want to ask me who did it, I can tell you. So this is Hallgrímskirkja. That's this means church. I won't get into the rest of it because I don't remember. This is Leif Erikson, very famous guy, found North America up in Labrador. I'm sorry, Newfoundland. So that's the outside. Here's the inside. Very stark, typical kind of Scandinavian style inside. Nothing ornate at all. And you can go up in the, I guess you can call it a steeple. It's not really a steeple. And look out. This is Reykjavik. You can see it's not really a big town, but it's the largest city in Iceland. So these 3 photographs are not mine. And if I find mine, I'll let you know. So, okay, so usually we land, we get a bite to eat because you always end up in Europe in the morning, and it's just too early to go to a hotel room. So we started heading east a little bit. This is the first waterfall we came to. This is about 200 feet high, and it seems like every waterfall we saw that day was 200 feet high. Like, why is that? Well, you have this ridge of rock along here, which happens to be 200 feet high. So all the waterfalls come off there. Seljalandsfoss, and here's a tour bus. You can see, give you an idea of the size of it. And this is one where you can actually walk behind the waterfall. Summer day and you're in shorts and flip-flops or something, yeah, go ahead. The temperature was maybe 40 degrees. It was windy. You would get really wet. I wasn't going to do that. And the wind did kick up. You'll see more examples in a minute. And as we were in the car, ready to drive away, this gust of wind came in. I jumped out of the car and I grabbed this picture, which I really like. Only one person ruining the picture, but giving a sense of scale and the nice rainbow. And you can see how the wind is blowing the water off to the side here. So after that, we went down the road a little farther, and we saw this other waterfall. And the wind was blowing so hard, it was blowing it up. The water wasn't coming down. Can you see that? Yeah. On the airplane over, the little brochure said Iceland is the 3rd windiest inhabited place on Earth. They didn't say what the other 2 were, but I can guarantee Iceland is right up there. So I was blown away. Well, pun intended, I guess. Blown away seeing this thing. It's just amazing to see the water going up instead of down. And this is just like turning around to the side a little bit, just to give you an idea of what the landscape is like. Almost no trees in Iceland, almost no trees. Very tundra-like, because it's really all rock. It's volcanic. It came out of the middle of the earth and solidified. So you get a little bit. Now this moss is really soft and spongy. And if you feel it, you think, I'd really like to take a nap here. It's just like this thick. It's very, very nice. So we were going to go out to these islands the next day, and we went to the ferry terminal just to see what it was like, how to get there, all that. The ferries weren't running because the wind was too strong. So it's really kicking up the surf here. And actually, we ended up climbing this. These are both volcanoes. We ended up climbing that one later. You'll see that. So since the ferries weren't running, we had to drive 2 hours and 45 minutes to another port and take like a 2-hour ferry ride over to here, Vestmannaeyjar, which normally would have taken 35 minutes total. So, but okay. But since we had our car, we were able to come back this way 2 days later. It was okay. That's what the ferry looks like. Like an ocean-going ferry, and you really need that there. And what a difference a day or so can make. This is the harbor, Vestmannaeyjar. Now, Vest is west, man is man, west man. That's what the Nordic people called the Gaelic people who were in Scotland and Ireland, because they were to the west of Scandinavia, so they were Westmen. Well, how did an island in Iceland get named that? Well, the Nordic people captured a bunch of Gaelic people and made them slaves and took them here. And then a couple of days later, the slaves rose up and killed the guy that took them over there. So the brother of the guy that took them over there came and killed all the slaves. So kind of a gory story, but anyway, that's why it's called Westman Islands. This is in Vestmannaeyjar. You have little puffin heads giving you the directions, and I'll probably give you a number of like little language lessons through here. Skansen, we have the word ensconced when you're in a place and you're surrounded by you're protected from the outside. You're ensconced. That's what a sconce is. It was a little fort up at the top of the hill. Banki, there's a bank. That was easy enough. And Safnahuset, nobody knows what that is. Safna means gathering. Hus means house. And the gathering house was a museum. Not like a meeting house, but they gathered things together to put in a museum. And it's just fun. Once you start learning a couple of these things, you can figure more out. So now, if I just turn around, start heading up the hill, all of this is what came out of the eruption in 1973. Eldfell, this is part of the volcano. Now, the eruption destroyed 1,500 homes. Only one life was lost, and that was later because the guy was climbing down somewhere and there was poison gas. He died from that. But basically everybody, like they hopped in their boats and went out in the ocean for a little while. 1,500 homes, and a lot of them are under maybe 50 feet of rock and rubble and everything like that. Now, with a little bit of humor, I guess, they put new road signs in to show you where the old roads were. So if you went down 50 feet, you would find Vithsvegar. The D with a line through it is pronounced like a TH. And Vegar, or Ve, is way. So the Germans use way also. In fact, we do too, to mean a certain kind of a road. Anyway, I'm getting too much into the language here. So we started hiking up this little trail to go to the mountain. Here's what it looks like. It's a really rough trail, because it's basically just rock. And moss is starting to grow in here. Eventually, it'll fill in and cover the stones. And here we are going up to the top of it, Eldfell, or Eldfell. Now you can see how the wind was blowing. My wife, you'll see this blue raincoat a lot. My wife was wearing a down jacket under the raincoat, and the raincoat Gore-Tex so it blocks the wind, okay, which was good to block. If you look at the ropes here, you'll see how hard the wind was blowing. The ropes are just straight out, and she's kind of leaning into the wind to get up there. When we got to the top, we were yakking about what to do next, and we realized we were both holding onto that pole up here. And we were going, so what do you want to do now? And I said, well, I think it's time to go back down. So we came back down. And this is the volcano that's right next to it. And that erupted like 6,000 years ago. So they're not like brother and sister. They are related, though. And here's one of the houses you can still see. You can see this is like cinders. You know, it's not big rocks and cinders. And exactly how volcanoes do that, I don't know. And it looks like my wife is giving it the horns. And she's not. I said, what were you doing with your hand? She said, I don't know. So anyway, and you can go in a museum and see some of the houses. They've dug down. You can see some of the houses, how they were left.
What year did you say that? Eruption was?
1973. So this is just riding around the island a little bit. And the wind, again, it was just crazy wind. I got out just to take that picture and jump back in the car immediately. And this is kind of true. I don't know if everybody can read that. In Iceland, and the English is a little bit shaky, in Iceland, 3 trees over 1 meter, which is about this big, who are standing together, is considered to be a forest. And there's a lot to be said about that. So this is Skogafoss. Skoga means forest. Foss means waterfall. And I think this is the forest. I think that's how the waterfall got its name, because there's no forest up here, that's for sure. How high do you think that is? 200 feet. We got there, there's going to be a wedding. No, there wasn't. This lady was a model. They were taking some pictures of her. Now, it was about 40 degrees and windy, and she's there with backless dress. And I give her a lot of credit. And as soon as they were done with the picture, she had a down jacket on. And she was Asian. She was not even Scandinavian, or not Icelandic or Scandinavian. So here she is. Look at that. And look at everybody else with the hats and, recognize that blue raincoat? Okay. So, I want to go back just a touch. Here's the stairway to get up to the top. So almost everybody was braving it. It wasn't that bad. Now we're at the top, looking down. And I don't look over cliffs unless I have a railing to hold on to. It's a long way down. So we thought, well, why don't we just go back up a little bit? And we started walking up the trail, and then a hailstorm came. It was beautiful. Now it's a hailstorm. Here's some of the hail, my wife's lovely hand. See the blue raincoat? And, there I am. I got into one of the shots. So there's where the waterfall goes off right there. So we just walked up the trail, I don't know, a mile or so. By the time we got back down, we had blue sky and rainbows. I'm glad that we didn't have the weather that was predicted when we landed in Reykjavik. There you are. And then people in the rainbow. We looked everywhere for the pot of gold, didn't find a thing. This cracks me up. You can't read it on here, but it says stay dry or bone dry or something like that, or ever dry. And the back of his pants were all wet. We should have had like ever dry pants on too. Now, we came across a parking lot with a lot of people, a lot of cars and buses and everything, and people walking out on the black sand beach. We thought, this must be pretty cool. Let's go see what it is. Well, we knew there was going to be a plane there. And we said, look, there's the beach right over there. We'll go see the plane. It was deceptive. This is what we should have read before. We read this sign after we got back. It was too late. So it says the plane is about 4 miles away, or the hike is 2 miles out and 2 miles back. They say it takes 3 or 4 hours to go both ways. Not really, but it did. It says in winter you can experience strong wind. I don't want to go, if this was like this in May, I don't want to be here in winter. And then certainly do not climb on the plane. So nobody did. Now, this used to be a DC-3. It's a US Navy DC-3. It crashed because the pilot switched to the wrong fuel tank, which happened to be empty. Nobody was killed, nothing bad happened, but the plane's being eaten away over time. Now, when we got there, because we hadn't read about this thing, we thought it had been shot down. Because if you look, it's just full of holes. And so you can say, okay, these are bullet holes, but some of these are pretty large, like a rocket or something. Now, how they got there, I don't know. Maybe people went out and practiced with something, but look at these holes. It's amazing. Here's the inside. All the seats are gone. And then we had to walk back. This is what the little trail looked like. And they have these markers and actually reflective patches on the markers, so when it gets dark, which is really dark in the winter, up there, you can find your way back. And just for fun, I got to the side. I said, all right, let's take a picture. Anybody see the parking lot? There it is. There it is. And just for fun, I zoomed in so you can see what it looks like. That's the parking lot. And those white things, they're buses and campers. Those aren't cars. So yeah, it was a long way back, but we're happy we did it. Moving a little farther east, town of Hoof. They don't say the N at the end. This to me was just typical Scandinavian clean architecture. And Hoof, we stayed there one night. This was the eatery in town. Actually, it wasn't a bad place. It just looks very, very simple. And this was, I think, the hotel. I don't think there was more than one. Again, very simple. But it was nice. This was the floor in our room. You can't walk on it in bare feet. It's pebbles all glued together, but it's heated. So it's geothermal heat. They run pipes under it, and it stays warm. But I always wonder, like, well, suppose you drop your ice cream or something. How do you clean it up? So I had to wear shoes the whole time in there. And just 2 blocks away was the beach. This is the beach, black sand beach. This is not a black and white photograph. Yes, it's black and white. It's a color photograph, but there was no color. And I just found it dramatic. I really did. So. Just a touch further, I'm not going to say these words. The Glacier Lagoon. So the glacier's coming down here, and over time they scoop out areas, and then it fills with water and whatever. So as the icebergs, well, as the glacier calves, they make icebergs, and the icebergs stay around here because the lagoon is deeper than the exit to get out to the ocean. So they'd be scraping bottom so they don't get to go anywhere until they get small. There's some of them. I kind of like the way the 2 pyramids were here. And it's raining. You can probably see it's raining. At least the weather forecast was right. And then you get out. These are the ones that escape. So the parts of the icebergs that are white, those are basically snow. And when it's a darker color, that's more like ice. So the snowy parts melt away and you're left with the ice. And these things are really beautiful. I can understand why they call it Diamond Beach. It's like cut crystal almost. I got in there. I don't know whose pants I was wearing that day, but I don't think they were mine. So. And some of them were stuck. There was like a little, not reef, but like a sandbar out there. So some of the icebergs got stranded out there. And now we're leaving civilization. As I said, most of what you want to do is in the southwest. That's where the paved roads are. So this is what we traveled on most of the time after that. But I found it wonderful. I just love this kind of countryside. And you come across things like this, these beautiful waterfalls. And you can tell, like this is a dike right here, you can tell that it is volcanic. This is where molten rock lava came in, cooled, and made that kind of a formation. And fumaroles. We were talking about fumaroles at Yellowstone. These fumaroles there too. So here, there we go. So this fumarole, you can see how this really comes out with power here. Now, this is not a natural formation. People have thrown rocks in there to keep people from falling in the hole. And you notice there are no big fences, no boardwalks, nothing like that. You're free to do what you want there, pretty much, as long as you don't boil yourself. So here's one with water, and if they end up getting more and more dirt in there and less water, then you end up with something like, this is called a mud pot. The sound is wonderful, isn't it? Look at this. So, and I've seen some videos like from Yellowstone, a bubble will come up and go boop, 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 like that. It's so muddy, it can barely do anything. Okay. So this is one of our hotels. And I was tickled by the 80. It's 80 kilometers per hour, or kilometers, which is about 50 miles an hour. And I thought that was a joke because it's just a dirt road. But that's what people do there, because you get used to it and they go at a pretty good clip. So any faster than 50 miles an hour, you can get a ticket. But I didn't see any cops anywhere. And then almost every town has what they call a hot pot, which is, you can't call it jacuzzi because it doesn't have the air shooting into it, but it's, you know, a hot tub. Because all this hot water is free, and they just build this, like a concrete swimming pool, and they pump water in here. You see the red mark means that's hot end. This is the cool end. Oh, and when you're done, you just roll the thing back so it's covered up, and unroll it when you want to go in. Hot end, cool end, and you can see here's a thermometer. There's a thermometer, 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's even at the cool end, it's kind of hot. So we sat at the cool end. And Gullfoss. Looks like a horseshoe falls at Niagara, but it doesn't. But it isn't. Obviously, there are mountains in the background. I'll stop that because of the noise. That was taken with my cell phone, because we had unloaded at the hotel. We were going to go to the laundromat, and we thought, well, we're just going to the laundromat. What's going to happen? So we went by this beautiful waterfall. So I took the photo and the video with my phone, and I said, well, you know, I'll come back with the camera. Well, we went by it 4 more times, and the lighting was never right. It was just horrible. So I'm living with the cell phone. This is Akureyri. That's the second largest city in Iceland. That's way up north. That's basically, well, very top. But you can see even that's not a big town. But we did want to do, we went to the laundromat. I mentioned that. This is our room in Akureyri. Not that I want to share what our room looked like, but it's the design of it that I'm interested in. It's very plain, very simple, but nice. It's, you know, and everything was clean there. It's a very, very clean place. And we also were able to tank up on gas. Now, in the US, the diesel is green, but over there, it's the diesel is black, the regular gasoline is green. And they spell diesel without the E. I don't think Rudolph Diesel would be happy to see what they did to his name. But anyway, so that Americans don't get confused, they'll put a green sticker on the gas cap. So, okay, you just use the 95 octane. And there was no choice. It was either 95 or nothing. So, and so Krona is, means crown in Icelandic and Swedish and Norwegian. Liters, you can kind of figure that out. And worth, the D with a line is pronounced like a TH. So that's worth, or the worth per liter. So now you know what it costs. Well, if you do the math, it comes out to $8.43 a gallon. So everybody has little cars. Yeah. So since we had been on these dirt roads all this time, the car was a mess. I said, well, let's go to a car wash. So we did a look for a car wash. Oh, there's one like right around the block. We drove around the block. Nope, no car wash. So, okay, but it's supposed to be here. So we went in the gas station. I said, where's the car wash? And the guy said, it's right over there. There it is. So and it's free. Okay, you can't beat the price. So the car wash was free. So we did get to the laundry room, and so I said, now you know that button is just a piece of wood, right? Yeah, okay. Ice cold Coke. If you make a couple of allowances, you can figure out what things mean or what they say. Fillet of horse. Anybody ready for a fillet of horse? It's pretty common in Europe to have horse. This is roughly $63. $63 for a fillet of horse. But if you want to settle for lamb, it's only either $60 or $69. So the prices are nuts over there. A hamburger is $20. So yeah, you get to the point you're just like, I have to eat. So this is my wife's milestone birthday. She's been a horsewoman for years and years. She loves it. She hasn't been riding lately, but this was a treat. And the Icelandic horses have a special, actually two special gaits. One is called the Tölt, T-E-L-T. Here it is, T-E-L-T, and the flying pace. And the Tölt, it's like riding a couch. I mean, it's so smooth. However they do it, I don't know. And they do it naturally. And they have one called a flying pace, which, if you've seen like horse races, they have the trotters and the pacers. The pacers, the two side legs go together. Well, that's what they do that way, and they call it a flying pace. And I asked a horsewoman why canter and gallop were combined in the description, and she said because it's a 3-beat pace. And 3-beat, well, it goes ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. It's okay, now I understand. Because I think it's the two hind feet hit together and the front feet are separate. So that's how you get it. And a gallop is just faster than a canter. And I had never seen so many swans in one place at one time. So I just had to take a picture of that. Now, every so often you'll see a road sign like this, and this part tells you how fast the wind speed is. So you know if it's going to be really, really windy, maybe you stay home and have a cup of tea. But they give you the temperature, and this is Celsius. So that's not bad. It's almost 50 degrees, I think. All right. We're back on the highway again. This is a numbered. This is the only way to get from one place to another. It's not down these dirt roads. And most of the time it was really good. We did come to one muddy spot, and I looked at it, and I stopped the car, and we have to go. So I tried to keep the speed up and go to a spot that wasn't too muddy, and we got through it okay. But I thought, if we get stuck out here, I mean, you just don't see people out there. So we could be there for weeks, who knows. This was just along the way. I thought that was magnificent. And this is along the way too. You can see it's pretty barren. I like it, believe it or not. If you look at the Grand Canyon, you're not looking at a bunch of trees, you're looking at rock. And I think the Grand Canyon is pretty good too. So over time, the weeds will take in, they'll decay, and they'll make some kind of dirt, and things will grow a little bit better. Oh, Stick is Holmer. And I apologize if there's anyone here from Iceland. My pronunciation isn't always the best. Not a lot of reason to go there. There are two things. Here's this church, and here's our hotel. I'll zoom in on a little bit on that one. Again, very, very sparse, spare, basic-looking hotel, but it was fine. And this church is significant. Now, if you see the movie A Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller, he's coming in on a plane. He's supposed to be landing in Greenland. And you see that church. It's not Greenland, okay? Because I saw it like 2 months after we had been there. I thought, hey, you're cheating. You can't. So we were on this little promontory at the side of the town, just looking around. There's the room. Again, very, very plain. They put the washcloth and towels out for you. Very nice. Very simple. There's the church again. And now we're at Kirkjufett, Arrowhead Mountain. Kirkjufett means church mountain. Kirk is church. So that's the one from Game of Thrones. If anybody's seen it. I haven't. Here's one of the more classic pictures of it. Everybody wants to go get a picture of the waterfall in the foreground and the mountain in the back. Can you climb that? Yep, you can. Nope, you can do it. And a little farther on, these were two volcanoes we thought we'd visit. Here was our first chance to look inside a volcano and see what's in there. Okay, great. So here I'm following the blue raincoat up the hill. Oops. And this is some of the moss that's growing around. This is a really soft moss again. Further up into the volcano, we get to the top and we look in, and it's the same as the outside except it's shaped differently. Then I thought, well, what did I expect to see? I'm not going to see like lava bubbling out or anything like that. It's a dead volcano. It's going to look the same on the inside as it looks on the outside. That was a lesson in life. There's the neighboring volcano. Again, now that we have the vantage point, we can see inside. There's nothing special. And the secret lagoon, which is not secret. It may be secret to Americans, but this in Icelandic means old. It's the old lagoon. But secret lagoon sounds more exciting, so we went there. And it can't be too secret because almost everything here is written in English. So the thing they call the Golden Circle is the Blue Lagoon. You probably heard of Blue Lagoon. The Gullfoss, which is a nice waterfall, which you've already seen. And Geyser, which is geyser. They pronounce it geyser. That's the circle. So we did everything but the Blue Lagoon because the Blue Lagoon was $85, and I got in here for $6. And as I mentioned, all the towns have a free hot tub anyway. So the reason I paid $6 is because they have lockers and showers and stuff like that, which was very nice. Here's the secret lagoon. So you go in, it's only this deep. You can float around, and it's very nice. And while we were there, we had a hailstorm. And my wife had all the hail in her hair. And I wanted to get a picture of it. My camera was in the locker, and I wasn't going to get out and get it. So that was pretty neat. Now, the hot water is over here. You can see there's like a stone wall. It's porous. But we went over to see it, and the water was actually boiling in there. You could hear it popping, sputtering, and everything. And it was hot being there, but I thought, okay, that's enough before I turn into stew. So we left. But anyway, don't waste your money on the Blue Lagoon. It's really no different. And, Thingvellir. This is pronounced like a TH also. Thingvellir. This is where North America and Europe are splitting apart. And people always say, oh, I want to go and stand on both continents at once. You can't really do that because you can't really tell where the split is. Now, this this used to be a road. This was the main road through this area. And then one day there's a big hole because it was a big rock that had been holding up smaller rocks, and it had moved apart so much that the big rock fell through, and then all the small rocks fell through, and it was a big chasm. So they cleaned it all out, and I think they've kind of filled it up. I don't know how they did it, but could you have jumped from here, from Europe to North America if you had a lot of guts? You could have. Maybe right here, I don't know. But you can't really be sure if that's the spot because there are a couple of fissures along there. So this is basically where we think the rift is. Here's North America, there's Europe. But if you go up on these hills here, or these, I can't call them hills, there are more cracks. So you don't really know where the dividing line is. Now, as we were walking down here, we saw sheep. They're just out there. I don't know if they'd be called bighorn sheep because it's Iceland. I don't know what they call them. But it's just sitting there chewing, not paying attention to anybody, and most people weren't paying attention to it. Now here we are. This is a couple of the other rifts I mentioned. So you can't really tell which part is Europe and which is North America. And if you go a little further, there's some nice waterfalls. And I thought this was pretty good.
Wow.
And I would bet dollars to donuts that that's a natural thing. I don't know why or how anybody would get up there and do that, but there it is. Now this little rock is probably about this big around. So I'm not going to do that myself. So then we went to, this is Geyser, Geysir, and they pronounce it Geyser, which is what our geysers are named after. And I thought I'd take a picture of it spouting water and everything, and nothing was happening. I went to look at the controls on my phone, which is how I was videoing it, and when I did that, then I was like, ah! So I said, okay, this time I'll be a little more patient. And actually, it worked out okay because it went again. So you can see the hole here. This sort of breathes. You can see the water going in and out a little bit. And watch. There you go. There you go. So now.
How often does it erupt?
I don't know. They say Old Faithful is every 47 minutes. It's not. It's faithful because it erupts every so often, and it's kind of regular, but you can't really predict it. And same with this. It just depends how the water's coming in, how the heat is. And, yeah. So we had two quick ones in a row there, but just before I was waiting like 10 minutes and nothing happened. So I can't really tell. And that area is kind of like where we looked at the fumaroles before, where just people are walking around, no boardwalks, no signs, keep out. It's pretty much open. And there, some of this hot water is running across the pathway, and there's a little sign that says, caution hot water. It's like, okay, in America, you'd have people, don't go there. Okay. Oh, so here's Gullfoss. This is the third of the three in the golden circle. And if you're lucky, you can get the sun shining right on the spray. And I must have taken 50, 60 photographs just trying to get the right one because you can't be sure. And if anybody shows you a photo of a rainbow and it's not dark on the outside, light on the inside, it's a fake. Because rainbows, when you look, the inside is always lighter than the outside. Oh. That's the one I kind of settled with. Kind of like that one. Oh, so our last day in Reykjavik came across this cat. I thought that was like the coolest cat I ever saw. And we didn't touch it. We didn't because we didn't know what to do. And you can't really tell, but it has dark blue eyes. Yeah. The cat's probably it's a good sized cat. Now. Somebody said, I think it's a Norwegian forest cat or something. Could be, I don't know. But it was, and it just sat there and looked at us, didn't move. It was like really cool. And then we're heading for our gate at the airport. and we're leaving from the D gates. Look at this. It's a 20-minute walk to the gate. Now, I was there in 2006, and I think the airport terminal was probably not as big as this library. And now it's a 20-minute walk to get out there. So the tourism has really blossomed in Iceland. And here's my last lesson in Icelandic. So English and Icelandic. Now, Björgin vesti, so the vesti, I can get the vest out of that, like vest. Under seatum, I don't know how to pronounce it, but okay, I can figure that's under my seat, which is under your seat. Okay. That was it. That was on our way home. Questions and answers. Anybody? Any questions? Yes?
You rented a car when you were there. Was it any special conditions on an auto rental?
No. Just like any place else. Just go and rent the car. But I will say it was one of those cars that when you're at a red light, it turns the engine off. And I had never experienced that before. So here I am. You know, it's like I've had the car like 7 minutes, and I'm driving along, and I get to a red light, and it goes, oh. So I started fooling, and it started up again, and then it died again. I was like, oh, I see a pattern here. So as soon as you, and I think it was a standard shift car. As soon as you hit the clutch or you take your foot off the brake, it starts up again. So, but it took me a couple of tries to get used to that. Yeah, it was a little unsettling. Anything else?
Was fish cheaper?
Fish? I don't think it was cheaper.
$60.
Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, I should mention that fishing in Iceland is a very big industry.
It's not cheaper.
No, I didn't find it cheap. I don't think it's the cost of the item. I think it's the labor and everything.
What do people do to make money that they can afford that? Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean,
Eat sardines.
Eat sardines, yeah. Yeah, I really don't know, but
Would it be just the cost of living there that drives it?
I think the cost of living is higher. It's kind of like Hawaii. You know, they don't make a lot in Hawaii. They don't make a lot in Iceland. And mostly everything has to be brought in except for fish.
do they grow any grains using the thermal? No?
No.
Very low on arable land there, right?
Yeah, it's basically rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they have sheep there at all?
And at least one. I saw it. I didn't see any farming at all, whether animals or crops. No, I don't think so. But, I'm sorry, you had a question?
I was going to Scotland in, I think it was like 2008, and I had a 4-hour layover in Iceland.
Uh-huh.
I went to the Blue Lagoon.
You did, okay.
I used a card. I didn't know it was $85.
Oh.
But it's heated by a power plant, is it? It's not
Well,
a natural,
actually, it's the runoff from a power plant.
yeah, it's not a natural spring there, is it?
Not at the Blue Lagoon. So the thing is, when you're driving from Keflavik, where the airport is, over to Reykjavik, you see this mist off to the side, and people say, "What is that?" Well, it's the Blue Lagoon. But a little further, you'll see a power plant that's using the geothermal heat to make energy, and their runoff, which is still hot, goes and feeds the Blue Lagoon. And it's clean water. There's nothing dirty about it. But yeah, so it's
So it is still.
it's natural. Yeah, it's natural. I mean, nobody's going to heat water when you've got it coming out of the ground. Yeah. So, yes.
How were the hotel prices?
Hotel prices? I think they were reasonable. I think everything was a little higher. Certainly food was, whatever you think it's going to be as an expensive meal, double it, and that's what it's going to cost. It was $20 for a hamburger. And, after a while, you'd say, I'm really hungry, I have to eat. So, yeah.
What about I know my husband and I have traveled and we'd go to a grocery store and get for bread and, a jar of peanut butter or some cheese or something. Was that cheaper or do you think that was astronomically high as well?
Actually, I don't recall because, it wasn't in dollars and you do a quick calculation in your head and it's like, whatever. And we did that a little bit. We kept some things in the car, snacks, but mostly everything. Oh, and I think the hotels always had a free breakfast. So it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, it's more expensive. Certainly food and alcohol. Alcohol is very expensive. They don't want you to drink and drive. I have a friend who lives in Norway, and I've been to visit him. And like in 2006, a beer in a bar was $10. Okay, and that was mostly due to taxes, and they have a zero tolerance policy on driving. So my last night there, my friend and his wife and I went out for a meal, and she drove because we were going to have a beer, and if he had gotten stopped driving, he would have lost his license. Very, very strict. Very strict.
What do people do for a living in Iceland?
Well, certainly there's a lot of fishing, and tourism is getting very big, but you have the same jobs there as you have here. You need insurance salesmen, you need plumbers, you need people to drive the trash trucks or garbage trucks. I mean, like everything that we would have, they would have. It's just, you think because they're kind of isolated like that they don't have certain things. Well, they do. I mean, you need electricians, lawyers. So, yes?
What is the population currently of Iceland?
The population is around 600,000. I can find that quickly. I have that in my notes. Let me go back and show. I go way up to the top. Oh, all right. The population is 360,000. And area of 103. Oh, so 40,000 square miles, 4 times larger than Massachusetts, or 4.5 times larger than New Hampshire. So,
Do they have to import a lot of their food?
yeah, because they don't have farms. They have horses, so they eat horse. But I didn't see anything like with sheep or cattle or goats or anything, and certainly no farms growing, wheat or anything. So all of that has to come in. So that's expensive. I guess either fish or horse. That's the only thing they have local. So. Now, yes.
No trees, so were all those beautiful painted houses concrete or some lumber brought in, or do you know?
I think a lot of them are concrete block. I don't know if they use what we call stick framing. Lumber would be very expensive there. You'd have to import the lumber, where it's probably easier to import cinder block and cement. Like in Florida, you don't use stick framing in Florida because you have all the wood-eating bugs that'll just eat your house away. So they have a lot of masonry homes. And I think the same is true in Iceland. I didn't go knock on all the walls to see what was inside, but yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Yes.
Is it funky there, like mosquitoes? Or
not a single bug.
fireflies?
Not a single bug. They were all blown off to Greenland. Yeah. Yeah, not a bug at all. No. Oh, no, but up where we went horseback riding, the lake right there is called Mýrvatn, which means midge lake. So midge is a gnat. So we thought, I'm not sure I want to go to a place called Midge Lake, but there was nothing there, really wasn't. Yes, ma'am.
How about birds? Were there a lot of birds?
No. Not a lot of birds.
Besides those swans that you saw?
Yeah. Waterfowl, we see waterfowl, but nothing that would nest in a tree. So, yeah. That's a good question. I hadn't even thought about that.
And were the people friendly to you?
People are wonderful, and they speak English as well as I do, probably better. So the people. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a best time to go, or doesn't it matter?
I would, if I had my druthers again, I would still go probably in the end of May. We do our very best to avoid tourists and the height of the tourist season. So we go on what they call the shoulder seasons. And okay, we had the snow, but you know, we like snow. I mean, it doesn't bother us a bit. And yeah, I would, if you want to go swimming, you know, you're not going to go swimming. You know, you're right by the Arctic. You're 25 miles from the Arctic Circle, and the water's pretty cold. So yeah, you can go swimming, but I'd go to the Blue Lagoon or Secret Lagoon. You know, yeah. So if you like the summer kind of thing, you can go there in the summertime, but it's going to be busy. So.
When does the busy season end? Like September or?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people go there in the winter to see the northern lights. Because since you're right on the Arctic Circle, you get a lot of nighttime. So you can go out and watch the northern lights at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, it'll be dark. People think.
When does the sun come up at that time of the year?
Well, if you're there on December 21st, you know, the shortest day of the year, since you're below the Arctic Circle, you might see it just a touch of sun, but you'll have several hours of twilight. So, you know, if you get above the Arctic Circle, the sun actually does dip below the horizon. But some people think, well, they have 6 months of light and 6 months of dark. No, it doesn't work that way. You know, and you know, at the equinox in the spring and in the autumn, we all have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night. So it just varies. It goes up and down. Anything else?
Did you see each barn wife a red rain jacket?
Oh, red rain
She
jacket?
used to wear red.
Oh, actually, I think she has one, and she probably has one in cranberry and something else, because it seems like we've traveled a number of times, and oh, I forgot my rain jacket, and it's raining.
She needs to have that
Right.
red little.
Oh, okay. I could probably Photoshop that in. Okay, I'll remember that. I'm sorry, you had a,
Foreigners that live in Iceland?
I'm sorry?
Did you see any foreigners that have immigrated to Iceland? Or is it just Iceland?
Well, it's hard to say. Unless you talk to them and detect an accent, you might not know where they're from. But even the Icelandic people didn't have much of an accent. And it's I mentioned I have my friend in Norway, and I've been to visit him, and almost everybody in Norway speaks English very well. And my friend said, well, we kind of have to, because nobody speaks Norwegian. You know, they only have 4 million people in total. And so they get the British TV shows, American TV shows, American and British movies. They see a lot of English, and you know, they study it in school. They have to study English and German in school. That's required. So they learn English well, and you know, almost no accent. So, did I see anybody that looked like they were from India, or Africa, or China? No, I don't think I did.
That
But
was
then-
2006, though.
I'm sorry.
That was in 2006, though.
No, that was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, I you know, it was.
Modelization, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. She was. Well, she was a model. Like, maybe they flew her in there just because of the waterfall. I have no idea. But yeah, you know, I didn't think about that. And quite frankly, we didn't see a lot of people. You know, even in Reykjavik, and most of the time we're out in the middle of nowhere on dirt roads. I didn't see a lot of people, so I didn't really get a good sampling of that. I think if you had immigrants, they'd probably mostly be around Reykjavik. It's a guess. So.
Can you say you had like a favorite spot as far as the photography? Like if you had to go back, you would go to the same spot?
One spot I would go is that Skogafoss, where it had the rainbow.
Yeah.
A friend of mine took a photo of that with no people in it, and the sun was just perfect. And first you need mist, you know, either rain or mist in order to get the rainbow.
Yeah.
And you need the sun directly behind you. So to get those two things at the same time is difficult. All right. I don't know when he was there, but he was lucky. No. But I like that one. Yes. Oh, sorry. I thought you had a question. No? Okay.
How much time did you spend there?
We were there 2 weeks. Does everybody want to go around the ring road the way we did? Probably not. But I would have felt unfulfilled if I hadn't done that. You know, like, you know, you really need to. And I'm so glad we did. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. But as I say, if you only have a week and you don't feel like driving on dirt roads and washing your car by hand, you can see everything in the southwest there. Most of what you're going to see is there. Sorry, you have a question? No. Okay. Yes.
When you say the ring road, did that take you all the way around
Yes, it does.
the island?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
And-
doing the cattle trail?
Right, like that. Now, there are a lot of peninsulas and offshoots and everything, and we didn't go out on every one. I mean, you could spend forever doing that. So basically the ring around there, that's a good bit of driving. I don't recall how long it was, but you know, it took us 2 weeks, and we were on the move a good bit. We weren't killing ourselves. You know, we tried to spend 2 nights in every place, because otherwise you're just always living out of a suitcase. So we do 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights, and it was fine. It was fine.
What if you get stuck in your car and it's so isolated? What do you do?
You wait. Yeah. I understand that Iceland has better cell phone service than we do.
You do.
Yeah. Now, out in some of those really desolate backcountry places, I don't know about that, but we never had a problem. No, I'm thinking about that. We never had a problem with cell phone service, even out in the middle of nowhere. Now, how they do that is beyond me. I don't know, but you know, we would say, oh, you know, we're going to such and such a town. Is there anything there? My wife would get on the phone and she'd look something up. Oh, there's a good restaurant. They serve horse, you know. So let's go there. Okay. She did have meatballs. Well, she had spaghetti and meatballs one time. She said, I'm not sure about those meatballs. So we don't know if it was beef or horse. And she said, yeah. So she said it didn't really taste like what I'm used to. So.
The stronger taste, isn't it?
I didn't taste it. No. I said, fine. Yeah. Good. Well, I don't eat red meat anyway, so I wasn't going to have it. But yeah, she said, I don't know about these meatballs.
They're not really wild animals there either, huh?
No. Now, that sheep that we saw, I don't know. You know, the thing is, Iceland just came up out of the ocean, kind of. So I don't think at any time that it was connected to Europe or any other place where animals would have migrated across. You can get, you know, waterfowl that can live on the ocean and everything, but you know, it can have moose or anything like that. And quite frankly, there's not a lot for them to eat. It's pretty barren that way. Yeah, but it's interesting, the question about the birds. I hadn't really thought about that, but no, didn't see a lot of birds. I don't know if I saw any birds, aside from the, you know, the swans and all that, but no trees. Okay, so I guess that means no squirrels too. That's a good thing.
Did the trees not survive because of the harsh climate?
Well, it's the harsh climate. Well, you can have evergreens, you know, pine trees and whatever. They can live really far north. Birch trees will do that. But there's not a lot of dirt. You know, it has filled in a little bit. You have the moss. Now, over time, you know, maybe some bird will drop a seed someplace and you'll get an oak tree or something. But yeah, there's not a lot of nutrition there in the soil. So.
Sounds like there's an opening for somebody to do hydroponic gardening.
Yes.
They do fairly far north in Scotland.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do that.
Somebody must be raising vegetables.
I wouldn't be surprised, because you think of the shipping costs.
And the Scandinavians are the ones who are trying to save seeds for us after all.
Oh, yes. Svardis and Black Glacier. Oh, and also in Svalbard. They have underground vaults where they're saving all kinds of seeds. So if there's any kind of blight or major wipeout of species, they can regenerate different kinds of plants. Yeah, right.
I bet somebody's growing vegetables.
Sorry?
I bet somebody's doing some hydroponic gardening somewhere.
I bet they are. I wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense. And you know, with the free heat, you know, it makes it easier. And you know, they're using the geothermal energy to make electricity. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Anything else?
Now, was it Iceland where the planes were trapped during 9/11? Or was it Newfoundland? Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was thinking about the eruption of Eyjafjallajökull. I can't say it backwards. I don't know if they were stranded, but they had to modify their routes. But as far as 9/11, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of the players.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.